Hey my Food Moon friends, welcome back. Chandra Zas, Zen Odyssey. Let's do this. So today I want to dive into our kids' microbiome. I have had a really cool journey in learning about little ones' microbiome. I know I went through my own personal thing of like really restoring and even I feel like to some degree creating a new microbiome because my gut, my microbiome were a mess. There's actually a really amazing book that I really love called The Body Ecology Diet that really focuses on like how to repair the microbiome. She calls it our inner ecology. So I was lucky to know a lot about the microbiome. And so when I had my little one, it was kind of like translating it into kid language or into kid microbiome. So here is like the nutshell of it. Our little one's microbiome is so sensitive. It is forming. I mean, this is why you have all of the regulations on baby products, because our little ones' bodies are just forming and they're just like their digestive system isn't totally formed, their detox organs aren't totally formed, and so they're really, really sensitive. Same thing with the microbiome. I learned that cavities are actually a bacteria that are contagious. And in normal adults, they're not contagious. So we can't get cavities from each other. I guess maybe in an extreme case when someone's microbiome is really a mess, then it's possible. But with our little ones, it's possible to pass cavities to them, to pass bad bacteria. So when people say, well, I got my mom's good teeth or my mom's bad teeth, actually what they got was mom's bad or good bacteria. So unfortunately, we didn't know this before we had a little one. And so my husband had a tooth that really needed to be fixed. And he kind of dragged his feet in fixing it. And so my little one has a lot of teeth problems. And there's a good chance that it's because of the bad bacteria that he shared with her into her mouth. So I shared this story because it's kind of the same, it is the same thing for the entire microbiome. So we have like a skin microbiome, we have an oral microbiome, we have a gut microbiome, and all of these are affected in our little ones tremendously by what they're exposed to. So this is why a lot of people say that vaginal births are really important so that the baby is exposed to the good bacteria, and because the first really big dose of bacteria that little ones get is through the vagina when they're being birthed. So also like the skin to skin contact, sharing skin. I mean, we all have bacteria all over our skin. And so the way that I talk to my big people is the same concept that I apply to the little people. Is our microbiome has this balance that we have lots of good and bad bacteria and microorganisms in our microbiome. And the most important thing is the balance. You can't get rid of all the bad ones. That's not the goal. The goal is to just keep the good ones, the friendly ones, strong enough and present enough that the bad bacteria don't take over. And when bad bacteria take over, it shows up in like overgrowths of fungus and yeast. Like in little ones, you have cradle cap. So cradle cap is a fungus that happens on their scalp, and it's really, really common. And the idea is that like the body just kind of naturally fights it off and gets rid of this fungus. The good kind of come in and say, no, you're not here. And when that doesn't happen, you have to intervene with some kind of antifungal, or you have to like kill back the overgrowth of fungus. So when my little one had a tooth infection, she also had we're not totally sure on exactly what happened with her teeth. It's a combination of a bad fall and breaking some teeth, and likely my husband's exposure of some bad bacteria he had in his mouth. And in the end, I also bumped her with my shoulder. It was a big drama. It was one of the hardest things was holding space for her through this whole teeth ordeal. But I learned a lot. So I hope you get to learn and hopefully avoid some of the mistakes that we made. But what happened was when she got a tooth infection and she ended up having to have some teeth removed. And in the process, when she had the tooth infection, they put her on oral penicillin. And so she was taking this, it was like liquid. And what happened is like a week or I don't know, some days into the penicillin, all of her teeth started turning brown, which is like obviously another parent nightmare, right? So I was talking to the dentist about it. I was like, I'm noticing that her teeth are turning brown. And he says, yeah, he's like, because, you're putting all of the penicillin, you're killing all of the bacteria in her mouth. The bad bacteria are taking over, which I was like, oh my gosh, of course, gut microbiome stuff, microbiome. So he started educating me and we started finding the parallels between gut microbiome and oral microbiome. And so what we discovered, and partly because he had kind of tipped me off saying that they're working on coming out with oral targeted microbiome probiotics. So my husband did some research and found some kid-friendly oral probiotics, oral microbiome targeted probiotics. That's a mouthful. And so what we did was we just starved the bad guys. We made sure that we didn't give her any sugar, any juice, nothing, no flour, because the flour sticks on their teeth. All kids' teeth are very, very sensitive. This is why it's so important not to give them sugar or juice, because their teeth are not as strong as adult teeth. They're more porous, they're more susceptible to cavities. And hers are even more susceptible. So we didn't feed the bad guys at all. We gave her nothing that would like leave residual sticky stuff on her teeth. We brushed, we interrupt the bad guys. We call them the brown monsters. So we were brushing the brown monsters regularly. Excuse me. And then we also gave her these oral probiotics. And so in that sense, we're feeding and strengthening the good guys. So this is how to work with and really support and keep in balance a kid's microbiome. And a microbiome in a kid is so important. It sets them up for the rest of their life. They're finding more and more research. When I was a kid and I had all my stuff, they didn't really know what the microbiome is. But now they're finding out how important the microbiome is in our weight, in our metabolism, in our mood, in our emotions, in our digestion, our ability to absorb, in our immune system, and how we're able to fight. Our microbiome is really, really important. And so to set a kid up with a really good microbiome is like one of the best things that we can do for their entire future. Because the microbiome that's established it's with us for life. It's a big deal. So one of my little one's best friends, she had an accident and fell, and she had to go on some antibiotics. And so the parents called me and they asked, well, so what do we do? How do we take care of her microbiome? So they asked me microbiome. Maybe they just said, what can we do when we're taking antibiotics? Because they knew it was gut related. So I told her the exact same formula that applies to all microbiome issues is like, do not feed the bad guys. So just really make sure that you're really strict with no sugar, nothing that will feed the bad guys. Give her the probiotics, make sure that the good guys are strengthened through this time. Because if you think about antibiotics, it's just a wipeout. It wipes everybody out. It wipes the good guys and the bad guys out. So after antibiotics and even during antibiotics, it's really good to just feed the good guys as much as possible, because those are the moments that a lot of people run into some really big gut problems, which are really microbiome problems, is when the antibiotics come and wipe everything out. So reestablishing, being proactive and reestablishing and supporting the microbiome is huge. It's really, really huge. So there's a few other tricks to the probiotics I really, really recommend. Not at all times, but in targeted situations, like when a kid or when an adult has to take antibiotics, take probiotics to really be proactive. Really starve the bad guys. Don't give them any sugars. I remember as a kid, I was like, when we were sick, we were eating ice cream. It was like a treat, which is just like such a backwards thing to do. It's like not the time to eat sugar. It's like the worst time to eat sugar when you're sick and your immune system's down and especially if you're on antibiotics, it's the worst time to eat sugar. We treat ourselves with sugar because we want to feel good. So it makes sense that when we're feeling bad, we're like, want extra sugar. We're like, I want that dopamine hit. I want that good feeling because I'm feeling so lousy. But it's just such the backwards, shoot yourself in the foot kind of action to take. Sugar is so intense and has so many of us like just hooked on this sugar roller coaster. And sugar. It's the worst thing for our microbiome. It's the worst thing for all of our body, except for our brain that gets the huge dopamine, serotonin hit and it's like, wah, yeah. Yeah. So that is a really good dive into a kid's microbiome. The most important thing that I hope you take away from this is like this concept of feeding and protecting the good, friendly bacteria and really starving the bad bacteria. And if you approach the way that you eat and drink and what kind of things you're putting in your body, this has such a huge factor. Sugars feed all of the cancers and the yeasts and the fungus, and it gives those bad guys that strong arm to be in the overgrowth mode, be in the when we have problems. That's what creates the problems. I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to share with you guys about kids microbiome. One really simple thing that a lot of us have lost that is really important to a kid's microbiome is playing in the dirt. So we get a lot of microorganisms from the soil and from the dirt, and kids that spend more time in the dirt and have more of that exposure to those microorganisms, they have a stronger microbiome. They have a stronger immune system. They have a bigger diversity of creatures in their microbiome. That diversity is really important. It's really important to build that up, just like with colds. It's really important for kids to be exposed to a lot of colds because it helps build their immune system. Their immune system learns from it. The microbiome builds from the microorganisms. So let your kids play in the dirt. Don't give them any sugar. If they need to take antibiotics, just really be on top of this concept of like feed and protect the good guys and starve the bad guys. So yeah, I'm going to give you one more thing. One really good thing for bacteria, infections and stuff is garlic. So garlic is incredible for the microbiome because it actually just targets the bad bacteria and does not harm the good bacteria. So when my little one's sick, I always give her some garlic. So I chop it up really small, and I don't give her a lot because it's very strong medicine. And I put it inside of things that have really high protein or oil, like soft-boiled eggs or avocado. And she eats the garlic she's been eating garlic for a long time. And trust your little one's body. Like if they have a couple bites and then they don't want any more, it's strong, potent medicine. And also for you have some garlic next time you get sick and really support your immune system while not harming your good, friendly bacteria. Have a beautiful day. I am really digging talking about parents and kids' gut health. It's really, really fun. And yeah, I hope you have a good time. And please subscribe, share. If there's a parent or a kid that you know about that could use some gut health, share this episode with them. Help me out and spread the word and help the people out that you love and spread the word and gut health. Yes. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day.